I was incredibly nervous to be here today and to come here. And actually, there are some people on my team who advised me against it. I'm very, very lucky. I'm very aware how lucky I am. It's a wonderful profession, what we get to do as actors. And we are quite often, because of that, made to feel like we have to be quiet in order to protect future working opportunities. And we are often told and reminded how grateful we should be. And that is the environment that I think has allowed workplace abuse to go unchecked for many decades. And it's also the environment that has saddled members of my union with unfair contracts. I am here because SAG-AFTRA has been explicitly clear that the way to support the strike is to post on social media, walk the picket lines, and to work and support in interim agreement projects. It's what our national board, our negotiating committee, and our elected leadership has asked us to do. And when independent producers, like the ones here of these films, sign these interim agreements, they are letting the world know, letting the AMPTP know that actors deserve fair compensation, AI protections should be implemented, and there should be sharing of streaming revenue. And so I hope being here today encourages other independent producers and encourages actors to show up and support our union members. And hopefully we'll see an end to this strike soon, and hopefully the AMPTP will go back to the table.
Jessica Chastain received applause from journalists at the Venice Film Festival during the press conference of her brand new movie, Memory, after speaking so frankly about the SAG-AFTRA strikes. Let's be honest, a lot of actors have been joining the writers on the strikes and they've been marching and holding the boards, but very few have spoken with such passion and so honestly about the studio situation and what is needed to fix the whole situation. I'm Max, this is Flip Your Wig, a place we celebrate film, TV and entertainment. Now, Jessica spoke with me last year also at the London Film Festival, and again she spoke very honestly about how important it is for her to use her platform to talk about issues, especially those involving women, which she also reinforced at the Venice Film Festival.
I think it's been an incredibly important moment in the last decade for an examination of our society. It's very important that we are acknowledging the violence and the crimes that happen to women every single day, every single minute, all over the world. That's the first step, right, to acknowledge, and then I wonder if the second step is to heal from it and to figure out how to heal from it through conversations. It's a huge passion of mine to protect women. It is something that I really feel is a strong guiding principle of my life, to do whatever I can to use my platform to support safe working environments, just a safe space for everyone to live. And so this is the first time I'm hearing about a flash mob also in support of ending violence against women, but I am fully supportive of anything that continues a conversation and moves us forward as a society.
Memory is made by Mexican independent director Michael Franco. It's been described as his best work yet. It's a story about a very unlikely relationship between two traumatized people who have gone through a lot in life and they're recovering at the moment. They meet at a high school reunion many years later, each carrying their own burdens.
I'm a filmmaker who loves actors. Many directors are afraid of actors or don't know how to communicate with them, or I don't know what nonsense. I love actors. They're, when I'm sitting on my own for months writing, I can't, I'm dreaming of who's going to read these lines or who's going to make them sound a lot better than what I've wrote. And I learned that Jessica had, that she was familiar with my films. She liked my work. I was very, surprised and flattered, and our agents were good at putting us together, and they both knew it was the right fit. And then because I like deep collaborations with actors, and because I knew that this film relies heavily on the chemistry, I asked Jessica, who's the best to play this role? And Peter's name was the first to come up. I had seen him in some movies. I thought it was a great idea. I was in New York with my sister who's sitting there. We went for a coffee with Peter, and 5 minutes later, I asked him to I asked you to show me your tummy. Was that right? I said,
You did, yeah.
I said, can I see more of your body? I'm afraid you might be too
I was afraid I would be too strong.
athletic.
In fact, I don't really exercise at all. So.
I don't know why I had. And as soon as I saw his big tummy, I was, it's yours. You got the role. And also I said, don't shave. I hope you won't shave. And yeah, I mean, I didn't say it's yours on the spot, but it was pretty fast,
We walked for several hours, though. It was a walking meeting.
Well, I wanted to see if you wore off with the tummy.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't think I've ever had a meeting quite like this where, I've lived in New York since 1993. I know it reasonably well. So we just went on a walk where I showed him all the places that I like. We were down on the Lower East Side. And it's like showing someone you're part of yourself when you show them your hometown.
Oh, I've always wanted to work with Peter. And we've met a few times before this, and we've talked about it. I've not been hidden in my fanship of his movies and who he is as an actor. I mean, he's a real artist. He's not. I don't see. We were talking about this today a lot. Sometimes an actor will change the script or the story to fit them, and the best is when you change yourself to fit the story. And that's Peter. I see that in everything he does. He really is he's a shapeshifter. And so
Thank you.
it was a big pleasure.
Likewise.
As I was reading, it was right after the pandemic and also right after Time's Up and Me Too. And as I started to read the story, I thought, I know what kind of film this is. Okay, I get it. This is, in response to what we've just been through, and this is some revenge drama. And as I read it and it started to unfold to me, I was so moved by how it was absence of any cliche that I could have imagined a film like this to hold within it. And I was so moved of the story of this woman who had led her life, or she had led the trauma in her life in front of her. And it's what she used as a shield, and it closed her off to the world. She used it as a shield to protect herself. She used it as a shield to protect her daughter. And in essence, then really she stopped living. And how beautiful it was for her to watch this journey of her learning to live again, to open up, to find a relationship with someone who is not tied to any chains or memory of the past, and sees her for who she is every single moment as new and as a rebirth. I found that to be incredibly inspiring. And I know Michel really well. I know he doesn't write things for, an audience impact. It always comes from an incredibly pure place. So I find that to be even more moving, that hopefully an audience will watch this film and have a cathartic experience, since we've all moved out of this dark time, and hopefully we're heading towards something with more light.
So during COVID, no, my uncle, who I was very close with, he died of CTE, which is from playing football, and boxing was his thing. So, this is a guy who was very important in my life. And so I felt like it was just like a magical thing that this movie came to me. I'm being asked to play someone who has dementia at 52 years old. My uncle had it at 48. And so I don't know, the thing about being around him that really did give me a lot for the role is that he was so positive, and happy. And even to the day he died, which, he died in a nursing home during COVID when the staff had basically left. And he was always just Bubba, Bubba is kind of Southern for uncle, but I knew him as Bubba. He played center for LSU football team. He was then a boxer, and then he was a fireman. but his spirit of like positivity and love and grace and forgiveness, even when you thought like, oh, is he forgiving me because he doesn't remember what happened? He would, he sort of pretended he knew everyone because he knew no one. I thought it was beautiful.
Jessica stars as Sylvia, a single mum, recovering addict and survivor of childhood sexual abuse. She's now so regimented in her routine. She has a 13-year-old daughter. So it's almost like this is how she survives. While Peter Sarsgaard plays Saul, a man suffering with dementia, confused by his own thoughts.
So, obviously I had my uncle. I'd been around him since I was 13, hung out with him a lot, especially when I was 13. And then for many years, he was in my life. But then, he'd passed away. And so I said, I need to talk to some people who have dementia. But that's a very awkward proposition. So first I talked to some people that treat people with dementia. And one of those guys, who's extremely helpful and gave me lots of information, really wanted to dispel a lot of our ill-conceived notions about what dementia entails and about what people with dementia can do. So he said, I'm going to reach out to a couple of people that I work with and see if they'll be interested in talking to you. And there was one guy in particular that I had a very extensive series of phone calls with him. And he remembered me every time I called him, even if it was a week later. So that idea of, sort of this fantasy notion of what dementia entails, because I think a lot of times when we've seen dementia in movies, it's been the most extreme at the very end, and it paralyzes us all with fear. And I really didn't want to depict that. This is a story that I think the saddest part of this movie starts at the very end.
Yeah, that's the trickiest.
So, I would relay a lot of this information back to him, and a lot of it was encouraging him to show all the things that I can do and can remember. And it was very helpful.
Memory is released in the UK in cinemas on the 8th of September. I'm looking forward to watching this. Jessica Chastain, what do you think about the fact that she uses her platform always to speak up, and she doesn't really think about, is this going to affect my career? Or do you think she's at a point now where it can't affect her anyway because she has that Hollywood A-list status? Either way, I think it's amazing that she does do that, because very few people do it unless there's a kind of motive behind it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I always love to know what you think. I'll be back soon with more videos. Make sure you subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss a video.